Okay, so we're here to Silent Props in the workshop. We're going to do a cast. We've got a clay life cast of one of our chainsaw guys, and we're going to do a hydrocal mold that we can use to pull latex heads out of it later. Thought you'd want to watch. Should take us a little while. We'll get it going. I'll kind of skip through the boring parts. You can kind of see it at high speed, but here we'll do a latex head. I'm going to do it in hydrocal, and you can also use ultracal, works just as well. Either of them's fine. Kind of a preference based on what you're doing with them. In our case, the hydrocal is going to work. So we're going to take and mix it up. Bring it on. Want to make sure it's mixed pretty good. We just mix the hydrocal and water, so it got to be a slightly more liquidy version of peanut butter. And because I use the electric drill instead of hand mixing it, and the way I did it, it's going to set pretty quick on us. So we've got about 5 minutes. We're going to start gooping it on and seeing where we go. There we go, we've done half the mask. It's already set. Only had us about 3 minutes. We left a flat top so it'll be easier for us to lay on a table in pieces and pour without it rolling off and falling off the table, breaking itself later. That's pretty much it. It's fairly simple. Once we've done the hard part of the life cast and the clay and the cleanup and all the work therein. I put a lot of extra here where his mouth is because his mouth's open in this mold. Then we made sure it's, an 1 to 2 inches thick all the way around. Particularly more on weak spots like ears. We've got a lot of extra around the mouth. And we'll let it dry. Should only take about 20 minutes. Then I'll start this back up again, and you guys can see it's a full head. So what we'll do is flip this over, clean the clay out, and then we're going to do the same thing on the other half. We'll add some Vaseline in between the seams. So we have a good way to snap it apart later, and you guys will see exactly what we did. So we'll chat with you in a bit. Alright, coming back again. It's been sitting a while, it's still steaming, it's still hot. It's been about 15 minutes. The exothermic reaction's getting quite hot, but it's now set enough for us to kind of do the next steps. Need a scrub it. And if you, because we didn't show you how we built this wall, so I'll kind of explain it to you while we do this. We just use a bunch of foam and 2x4 blocks, whatever we have laying around to build it up. Then we built the clay wall in. um, at our midpoint where we wanted it. And then that's what we did to have this, so the wall's about right at the midpoint where we wanted it. So that'll make it easy for us to split apart and pull the mast down later. And so now we're gonna basically just flip this thing over and do the other side. Gotta peel the clay out and clean it, so we'll fast forward through some of our mumbling here. Pull those out. Should be good. You can see the clay wall we built. I'm just going to peel it out. Some of this clay we'll be able to save and it's clean, some we won't. Fortunately, sometimes the clay gets hot from that reaction, so it's a little harder to peel out. You gotta take a lot of creativity to do it. You want to be careful using anything but wood tools or rubber soft tips, so you don't mess your clay up. We did this in oil clay, and you don't want to obviously mess up the mold wall. And I'll show you some visions of the mold wall here in a sec of how we did that. So you can see our chunks on it and what we'll do to it before we mold it. Before we mold the other half to make sure the two pieces fit together pretty well. Now this is boring, so we're going to go fast forward time. I'm going to take a moment and tell you about these great tools. We got them at the Artist and Craftsman Supply here locally. They're rubber tipped, kind of like an eraser, but they are the best thing we've got. It was referred to me by Brothers Rich. They said I should get one, and I bought it. I love it. My favorite tool, because it's rubber, so it doesn't mess up my oil clay, but it gets the water clay out like butter. While I'm cleaning this, there's some lips that we had that went over our clay wall on the other side, and I don't want them to cause weird joints on the next one, or we're going to have a hard time getting it apart. So I'm just going to break them off. See it, I don't know how good you can see him in the video, but we took and it's not that small, but I took actually the tail end of a screwdriver and made myself some registration marks because it was perfectly rounded in. So in the clay, when I did the other side, I just poked a couple of holes so when I snap the two together, they'll perfectly seat in, so it'll help make the seam a little better. You just want to make sure in particular around those marks that we're getting all any clay remnants left, any chunk out of the way. So when I put the other batch on, it'll sink and you won't have any gaps there so it doesn't shift. So we're just doing that. We're getting some clay ready. I'm going to build a wall up along the tail end, kind of matching the base. And then we're going to hydrocal that. Pause the video here for a sec so we don't run out of space on this little memory card. We're going to finish off this wall and get ready to do hydrocal. We'll start it back up. Pause the video here for a sec so we don't run out of space on this little memory card. We're going to finish off this wall and get ready to do hydrocal. We'll start it back up. Okay, we're back. We got our mold wall put in and we Vaseline the seam. Now we're going to hydrocal yet again. So after we put this on in a little bit, we'll be able to peel it apart and start pulling clay out. Where's that spatula? Do you want to know how much water to hydrocal? The answer is, I don't know. Whatever we think will be enough to cover it. That's about how much we put in. I think we'll be okay. I put about, I don't know, 1.5 or 2 inches deep in this 5-gallon bucket. You got the hydrocal, Danny? Pour it. Using the drill does speed up the reaction time, but if you can see it, it's kind of a slightly liquidy peanut butter. It's got a little consistency to it. It's already even starting to get warm. And so we got to kind of go quick, but we got to get all the areas really well pounded in, and not too much so it doesn't weigh more than itself. And just roll over the edges. So we're going to give it a light coat with this so it's sealed, and then as soon as it starts hardening, we're going to pile it in like Play-Doh. Go. Trying to basically meet the whole edges of the previous mold without wrapping it over too bad so that we can still get it off. We only got a short time to make sure it's kind of smooth. Mostly the purpose of this is to keep it from chipping off while we're moving it around later. Once the Hydrocal dries, you can't just add more. It's a one-time use. Hydrocal really doesn't stick to Hydrocal. It doesn't molecularly bond. It will mechanically bond it. If you had two pieces and some weird undercuts, you could add more, but basically, once it's done and set, it's set for good. Hopefully there are years to come and many masks to go. Pretty much done now. I'm just kind of smoothing out some areas. There you go, the second half is done. Come back in a few minutes and show you when we demold it. Okay, we're getting pretty close to ready to pull this off, so we're gonna pull this out now. I'm going to put it back on its stand here to get the shell off. Kind of hoping it might be a little easier on me. We'll find out. So there's our mold. You can see it. It's done fairly well. Two piece. It'll sit okay when we have the two pieces apart. And now the trick is we got to figure out how to get it out. I'm not really sure how we're going to do that. Get these out of my way. This face. Take some muscle. Come over here, then. You're not gonna have to pull. Pretty hard to pull. Back should pop off of him. There we go. Good, the ears were great. I think that was one of the easiest ones we've been able to pull off.
It was.
base is going to be more difficult. Let's see if we get lucky. Flip them around this way. I'll hold down. Oh, hey, he's actually loose.
Yeah.
Oh my God, he's coming. It's actually good old that way. That's beautiful. Yay! There's what's left. A little bit of cleanup. We'll put it back in the crock pot. And tomorrow we'll start pulling a mask. So there's a Hydrocal Mold that'll be used for some of the latex masks that will go on some of our foam bodies. And we'll gore them up, a couple of them, and we'll use them for screaming victims. And this guy's going to be a great mold. See you guys next time.